So, a few months ago, when I started working on my valuation sheets, somebody that I know really well, and unfortunately I don't remember who exactly it was, asked me, if I'm going to spend money on Conquest for Datacrons, specifically for the idea of PvP for GAC, what is the best way to go about doing that? And I said, hey, I'll figure it out in the morning. And I didn't because it was a really daunting task. And I realized that it was such a gray area that there was no way to dollar cost analysis the input there because there's too many factors involved. So I kind of forgot about it and said, screw it. And they never asked me again. And I said, oh, thank God. And we went about our day. And then yesterday, somebody else asked me a very similar question. And it's the summer now. And I kind of said, well, I have the time. So let me see what I can do, right? There's so many conquest related packs. What is the most efficient way if you have an unlimited budget, but you really just want to spend on one particular thing? And it took me like 4 hours. And I'm going to try to share that to you in about 5 to 6 minutes. So you're welcome. Let's take a look. Okay, so Conquest is obviously started and we're getting through it. It is technically still the second day, but really the third day when we think about refreshes. And mainly there are four big packs for Conquest, right? Technically three. There is the Conquest Rewards pack, which is right over here. There is the Conquest Plus pack, which is just an extension on the Conquest Rewards pack. There is the Conquest Ascension, which gives you a ton of energy and some datacron materials. And then hidden down here is also the Conquest Energizer Calendar, which gives you about 4,200 Conquest energy over the course of 7 days. Now, each of those serves a different purpose. And we're going to kind of jump back and forth between the different things as we talk about them. So let's drop down the game for now. Let's pop on over to my analysis sheets, Conquest Pack comparison. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Conquest Pass. Now, when we talk about the Conquest Pass, I have very specifically gotten rid of the valuations for anything that is core gear, right? So we're talking about this from more of an end game player perspective, less of a 4 million, 5 million, 6 million GP player perspective. If you are more in the earlier aspect of Hard Conquest, there is more to this pack, right? So we can kind of head on back over to the game. We can check out what Conquest looks like. Here is our pack. We'll see things like, Carbontes. We'll see things like these consumables that you might find useful for getting further in the battles than you may have been able to before. We'll see things like stun guns. I don't particularly find those things useful. I don't need them. I don't value them, right? So that's what we're talking about here. We're also separating out the shards. And the reason why we're doing that is that if you're in the end game, you almost definitely have the extra Conquest character. You have the previous Conquest character. And the newest Conquest character, we can make a case for valuing specifically because you can use that currency to purchase something else or somebody else, which is why I actually did both, right? And if we look at our anchor chart for valuations for MK3 material, right, for our Datacron material, we are looking at those things from store value. The Datacron caches we are looking at from the Datacron cache pack EV, right? So the expected value. So it's a little bit cheaper than normal store value. And when we look at that Conquest Pass, we are seeing a total value of $86 or a 760% value increase. But if we look at it through the analysis of no shards at all, we're looking at about $35 of value and 251% value increase. Still relatively strong in value, right? If you're just looking for these things right over here, but it's not exactly like this big crazy thing between the Omicrons. And I've said this before, I don't value Omicrons anywhere near as high as this 481 valuation. It's just the best value I have right now. I think I personally would probably value it somewhere around 200 to 250. And if we were to do that, we're looking at actually not too terrible of a valuation drop, $32. Okay. So this is a great pack. I think if you are in the early and mid game, this is a great pack if you need Conquest shards. I don't particularly think it is an amazing pack at the end game because there are other avenues to get those items. So let's move on to the Conquest Pass Plus. And the Conquest Pass Plus is going to give you the same stuff as the Conquest Pass. And when we talk about the price of the Pass Plus, we are talking about the price over Conquest Pass, not the price of the pass itself, because we've already valued that here. Now with the Conquest Pass Plus, you are going to get about 1,750 extra energy from the energy refresh, 49% increase, which is 87 battles worth of energy. And those 87 battles worth of energy, if we factor them in at the 100 crystal refresh rate, is worth about 1,400 crystals. Arguably, it would be worth more than that, but it's really tough to value energy. Some people say value at the 50. Some people say value at the 100. Some people want it to be stacking across all of those numbers. But since you get all of the energy at once and not, or rather, since you get all of the energy staggered throughout, it's really hard to say, hey, this is what it's actually worth. The other benefit of the Conquest Plus Pass is the increase in stamina regeneration, which I do value pretty low for me personally. It is not something that I have ever felt was a big deal in Conquest as a higher end player. I do understand that some people disagree with me there, and that's completely fine. And then you do get the added bonus of getting these consumables, which arguably cancel out 30 key cards worth of Conquest, making it a little bit easier. That's a little bit less tangible of a reward. And some people are going to value that and some people are not going to. We are specifically talking about this from a Datacron perspective. So the thing that we need to keep in mind here is you are getting about 87 additional battles at a cost of 23 cents per battle. The other added benefit of Conquest Plus is if you need Proving Grounds characters, you can see an additional $13 worth of value for every Proving Grounds character that you need, right? So maybe I don't value that if I need one or two, just because you don't automatically complete those characters. But if you are trying to play catch up on a few characters, if you took a break for 4 months and there's like 3 characters you're missing, there is pretty considerable value there. Again, we're talking about this from a Datacron perspective, so that cost per battle of 23 cents is really, really important. Moving on to the Conquest Energizer Calendar, right? We see about 4,200 Conquest energy. That's roughly 210 battles at a valuation of 100 crystals per battle. We are seeing a valuation of 3,500 crystals. I do again want to remind you that we're just talking about the energy value. I do not have drop rates on Datacron materials. I've looked. Nobody's really done the statistics or the analysis. It's very difficult because we're talking about multiple nodes with multiple drops and multiple amounts of drops per drop. But obviously, we would see a considerably higher valuation if we were talking about the MK3, the MK2, or the MK1. This is why I do not put a cost emphasis on the value increase when talking about these packs. Instead, I am talking about the cost per battle. And for $14.99, we are looking at roughly 7 cents. If we push that out a little bit, right? 7.138 cents per battle, which gives us a nice boost over that Conquest Plus by roughly 3x, right? So if you're looking for Datacrons, you're looking for PvP, you are looking specifically to get ahead in GAC, the Conquest Energizer Calendar is going to be more advantageous to you than the Conquest Pass Plus. And finally, we have the Conquest Ascension. And that Ascension pack is, let's just pull this down, 4,850 energy, or 243 battles worth of energy, at a valuation of 40.42 just for the energy alone. We're looking at a cost per battle of 16 cents per battle, or if we were to push that out a little bit, 16.474 cents per battle. Now, what makes this a little bit muddy, though, is that you do get MK1, 2, 3, and data cache material, and I have valued those at store values and at the data cache EV. And you are looking at, just for the crystal value of these DC materials, roughly $43 in value, right? So you're looking at about a 15% valuation increase off the top of my head from the cost of $40 going down. I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit more. The cost of $40 and going into the $43 worth of extra materials, maybe 12.5%. On top of that, you are also getting the 243 battles in increase. If we were to separate out this valuation and say, hey, this cost, blah, 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 whatever it is, let's erase that from this, we would be looking at these additional battles as being free, right? So the cost per battle would go down to 0. You can see how it is a gray area here because of this additional stuff. My recommendation is that if you are just going to buy one of these, you have an unlimited budget, you don't care what you spend, but you're saying, you know what, I don't want to spend $100, I don't want to buy all 4 things. I believe the Conquest Ascension is probably the best bet, the best way to go. If we were to look at roughly the $14 valuation of Conquest Ascension, which we don't have here, but we can kind of look at the store, Conquest Ascension, $2. So if we were to say just these tiers here at the same cost as the calendar, we are looking at 1,700, 2,100 energy and pretty minimal amounts. So if we were comparing dollar to dollar, if you just want to spend $15, the Conquest calendar is the way to go. If you are willing to go past this tier, if you are willing to purchase this entire Ascension, you really want to expedite your Datacron farming, you are going to buy this entire Ascension, hands down, no questions asked. I hope that this helps for those of you that do buy this stuff. I know that not everybody does, and I always get people in Conquest in the comments saying that everything is a scam and life is meaningless, and your nihilistic views on life. And while I go and spend $400 buying Mega Man Amiibo because he's my favorite video game character, I try to look at things a little bit more pragmatically and neutral. So, for those of you that are curious about those valuations, there you go. Hopefully, you find it helpful. Hopefully, you don't face me in GAC because I will cry. But with that said, peace out. Have a great rest of your day.